The stagecoach lurched to a stop in front of the weathered wooden station, and Olivia Edwards pressed one hand against her swollen belly as she peered through the dusty window at Steins Pass, New Mexico territory, wondering if the man waiting for her would turn around and leave the moment he saw her condition. The late afternoon sun beat down mercilessly on the small frontier town in the summer of 1877, casting long shadows across the dirt Main Street. Olivia had written to Vincent Palmer 3 months ago, responding to his advertisement for a wife, but she had not told him about the child she carried. How could she have explained in a letter that she was 4 months pregnant with another man's baby? A man who had promised to marry her, taken what he wanted, and then disappeared like morning mist when she told him about the child. She gathered her worn carpetbag and stepped carefully down from the coach, her dark blue traveling dress doing little to conceal her rounded middle. The heat hit her immediately, so different from the cooler Pennsylvania town she had left behind. Several townspeople stopped to stare, their eyes moving from her face to her belly and back again. She felt the familiar flush of shame creep up her neck. "Miss Edwards," a deep voice called from near the station house. Olivia turned to see a tall man approaching, his worn leather boots kicking up small clouds of dust with each step. He was perhaps 27 or 28, with sun-bronzed skin and dark hair that touched his collar beneath a dusty brown hat. His blue eyes were striking against his tanned face, and there was a quiet strength in the way he carried himself. He wore simple ranch clothes, a checked shirt with the sleeves rolled up to reveal strong forearms, and a leather vest that had seen better days. Vincent Palmer stopped a few feet from her, his eyes taking in her appearance. She watched as his gaze traveled down to her obviously pregnant state, and she held her breath, waiting for the anger, the disgust, the rejection she had prepared herself for during the long journey west. Instead, his expression softened. He removed his hat, holding it in his hands as he stepped closer. "Miss Edwards," he said again, his voice gentler this time. "I am Vincent Palmer. Welcome to Steins Pass." "Mr. Palmer," she began, her voice trembling despite her efforts to sound strong. "I understand if you want me to get back on that coach. I should have told you in my letters, but I was afraid and desperate, and I know this is not what you expected when you sent for a bride." Vincent looked at her for a long moment, his blue eyes searching her face. Then he glanced down at her belly again and back up to meet her gaze. "Are you running from the father?" "There is no father," Olivia said quietly. "Not one who wants to be, at any rate. He left when I told him about the baby." Something flickered in Vincent's eyes, something that looked like anger but not directed at her. He placed his hat back on his head and picked up her carpetbag. "That child will call me father," he said firmly, "if you will still have me as your husband." Olivia felt tears spring to her eyes and she blinked them back rapidly. "You cannot mean that." "I do not say things I do not mean, Miss Edwards." He gestured toward a wagon hitched nearby. "I have a ranch about 5 miles outside of town. It is not much, but it is honest work and honest land. I came out here 3 years ago looking for something different than the life I had back in Missouri. I need a wife, and I need help with the ranch. Your letter said you were hardworking and not afraid of difficult circumstances. That is what I need more than anything else." "But the baby will be ours," Vincent interrupted gently. "If you agree to be my wife, then that baby is mine in every way that matters. I will not have any child under my roof thinking they are not wanted or loved. Do you understand?" Olivia could only nod, overcome with emotion. She had expected rejection, cruelty even. Instead, this stranger was offering her more grace than she had ever known. Vincent helped her up into the wagon, his hands steady and respectful. Once she was settled, he climbed up beside her and took the reins. "We will need to see Reverend Matthews about getting married," he said as they started moving down the main street. "Unless you need time to rest first after your journey." "No," Olivia said quickly. "I mean, if you are certain about this, I would prefer not to wait. People will talk enough as it is." "People will talk regardless," Vincent said with a slight shrug. "But you will be my wife, and that is all that matters. Anyone who has a problem with it can take it up with me." They rode in silence for a few minutes, passing the handful of buildings that made up Steins Pass. A general store, a saloon, a small hotel, and a few other structures clustered along the main road. In the distance, mountains rose against the horizon, purple and imposing. "Tell me about your ranch," Olivia said, wanting to break the silence. Vincent's expression eased slightly. "I have about 300 acres, mostly grazing land. I run cattle, about 200 head right now. I have been building the herd slowly, buying when I can, trading when it makes sense. The house is small, just 3 rooms currently, but it is solid. I built it myself when I first claimed the land. There is a barn, a chicken coop, and a good well. The work is hard, especially doing most of it alone, but the land is good. You have no hired hands. I have a man named Charlie who comes by a few days a week to help with the heavy work. He is getting older and cannot manage full-time ranch work anymore, but he is reliable and knows cattle better than anyone I have ever met. Otherwise, it is just me." He glanced at her. "And now you." "I am a hard worker," Olivia said earnestly. "I grew up on a small farm in Pennsylvania. I know how to tend chickens, keep a garden, cook, clean, mend, and help with animals. I may be pregnant, but I am not fragile." Vincent nodded approvingly. "That is good to know. But I will not have you overworking yourself either, especially in your condition. We will figure out what works." They found Reverend Matthews at the small church on the edge of town, a modest adobe structure with a wooden cross above the door. The Reverend was a thin man in his 50s with kind eyes and a gentle manner. He listened to their request without judgment, though Olivia caught him glancing at her belly. "I can marry you right now if you wish," Reverend Matthews said. "Do you have witnesses?" Vincent stepped back outside and returned a moment later with an older couple who had been passing by. They introduced themselves as Henry and Martha Sullivan, owners of the general store. Martha gave Olivia a warm smile that helped ease some of her nervousness. The ceremony was brief and simple. Olivia had no flowers, no fancy dress, no family present. But when Vincent took her hand in his and repeated his vows in that steady, serious voice, she felt something shift inside her. This was real. This man was choosing her baby, offering them both a future when she had thought all hope was lost. When Reverend Matthews pronounced them husband and wife, Vincent leaned down and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. It was chaste and respectful, but it felt like a promise. Martha Sullivan hugged Olivia afterward, whispering in her ear, "Vincent Palmer is a good man. You are fortunate, and I think he is fortunate too." As they left the church, now legally married, Olivia felt the weight of exhaustion settling over her. The long journey, the emotional turmoil, the unexpected wedding, it was all catching up to her at once. Vincent noticed immediately. "You need rest," he said, guiding her back to the wagon. "We will head to the ranch now. You can sleep on the way if you need to." She did not mean to fall asleep, but the rocking motion of the wagon and the warmth of the late afternoon sun proved too much. She woke when the wagon stopped, blinking in confusion for a moment before remembering where she was. "We are home," Vincent said quietly. Olivia looked around, taking in her new home for the first time. The house was indeed small, a sturdy wooden structure with a covered porch. Beyond it, she could see the barn and several other outbuildings. The land stretched out in all directions, golden grass dotted with cattle in the distance. Mountains framed the horizon, and the sky was beginning to turn brilliant shades of orange and pink as the sun lowered. "It is beautiful," she said softly. Vincent looked pleased. "I am glad you think so. Come, let me show you inside." The house was simple but clean. The main room served as both kitchen and living area, with a stone fireplace, a wooden table with 4 chairs, and a small sitting area with 2 rocking chairs. A doorway led to what Vincent explained was the bedroom, and another smaller room was used for storage but could be converted into a nursery. "I know it is not much," Vincent said, setting her carpet bag down, "but you can arrange things however you like. Make it feel like home." "It already feels more like home than anywhere I have been in a long time," Olivia admitted. Vincent moved to the stove and began building up the fire. "You must be hungry. I am not the best cook, but I can manage something simple. Why do not you sit down and rest?" "I can cook," Olivia protested, starting to move toward the kitchen area. Vincent gently but firmly guided her to one of the rocking chairs. "You have been traveling for days, you are pregnant, and you just got married. Sit. Rest. I can handle making dinner tonight." Olivia sank into the chair, too tired to argue further. She watched as Vincent moved around the kitchen with surprising competence, putting together a simple meal of beans, bacon, and cornbread. He worked efficiently, his movements practiced. "You said you were from Missouri originally?" Olivia asked, wanting to learn more about this man she had just married. "Born and raised on a farm outside of Independence," Vincent replied, stirring the beans. "My father died when I was 16, and I spent the next several years helping my mother run the place. She passed 3 years ago, and my older brother inherited the farm. He made it clear there was no room for me there anymore, so I decided to head west and start fresh." "Do you miss it? Missouri, I mean." Vincent was quiet for a moment. "I miss my mother. I miss the familiarity of the place I grew up, but I do not miss feeling like I did not belong or matter. Out here, a man can build something that is truly his own. I like that." "I understand that feeling," Olivia said quietly. "Not belonging." Vincent turned to look at her, his expression serious. "You belong here now, Olivia. I want you to know that. This is your home and you are my wife. Whatever happened before, whatever people might say or think, it does not matter. You and that baby belong here." Tears pricked at Olivia's eyes again. She seemed to cry so easily these days, though she did not know if it was the pregnancy or simply the release of months of fear and stress. "Thank you," she whispered. They ate dinner together at the small table, and Vincent asked her questions about her journey west, her life in Pennsylvania, the things she enjoyed. He was a good listener, she realized, truly paying attention to her answers rather than just waiting for his turn to talk. After dinner, Vincent showed her the bedroom. There was a large bed with a simple quilt, a dresser, and a washstand. "I can sleep out in the main room," he said. "Give you some privacy until you are more comfortable." Olivia had expected this might be an issue. Many mail-order bride arrangements included an expectation of immediate consummation of the marriage, but she was already pregnant, and they were strangers. "That is probably wise," she agreed, relieved that he had suggested it first. "I will get you some water for washing," Vincent said. "There is a clean nightgown in the top drawer of the dresser. It belonged to my mother. I brought a few of her things with me when I came west." While Vincent was outside getting water from the well, Olivia changed into the nightgown. It was soft cotton, worn from many washings but still sturdy and comfortable. She was sitting on the edge of the bed when Vincent returned with a pitcher of water. "There is more if you need it," he said, setting it on the washstand. "I will be right outside if you need anything. Just call out." "Vincent," Olivia said before he could leave. He turned back to look at her. Why are you being so kind to me? You could have sent me back. You could have been angry that I deceived you." Vincent leaned against the doorframe, considering his answer. "My father used to say that you can measure a man by how he treats people when they are most vulnerable and when it would be easier to turn away. I needed a wife. You needed a husband and a home for your child. Maybe it is not a conventional start to a marriage, but I do not see any reason why it cannot become something good, something real." "I hope you are right," Olivia said. "So do I," Vincent replied with a small smile. "Good night, Olivia. Good night." Olivia lay in the darkness, one hand resting on her swelling belly, and allowed herself to feel something she had not felt in months: hope. The next few weeks fell into a rhythm. Olivia woke early each morning to find Vincent already up and working. She insisted on making breakfast despite his protests that she should rest, and they ate together as the sun rose over the mountains. Vincent would then head out to work with the cattle or repair fences or handle the 100 other tasks that came with running a ranch. Olivia spent her days cleaning the house, tending the vegetable garden behind the house, caring for the chickens and preparing meals. At first they were careful around each other, polite and somewhat formal, but gradually they began to relax. Vincent had a dry sense of humor that caught Olivia off guard sometimes, making her laugh when she least expected it. She learned that he loved books and would read in the evenings by lamplight, and she began reading aloud to him while he worked on mending tack or other tasks that kept his hands busy, but allowed him to listen. Charlie, the ranch hand Vincent had mentioned, came by twice a week. He was a grizzled man in his 60s with a thick mustache and a tendency to tell long, rambling stories. He treated Olivia with respect and never once made her feel uncomfortable about her pregnancy, which she appreciated more than she could say. "Vincent is a lucky man," Charlie told her one afternoon when Vincent was out checking on the herd. "He has needed someone here. Ranch life is hard enough without being lonely on top of it." "I am the lucky one," Olivia replied, kneading bread dough on the kitchen table. "He has given me and my baby a home when we had nothing." "That is just like Vincent," Charlie said, accepting the cup of coffee she offered him. "Always seeing what needs doing and doing it without a fuss. You are good for him too, though. I have not seen him smile this much since I have known him." Olivia felt warmth spread through her chest at those words. She had not realized Vincent was smiling more, but now that Charlie mentioned it, she noticed it too. The serious, somewhat stern expression he often wore was softening, especially when he looked at her. One evening, about a month after her arrival, Olivia was washing dishes after dinner when she felt the baby kick for the first time. She gasped and pressed her hand to her belly, feeling the flutter of movement again. Vincent was at the table looking over some papers, but he looked up immediately at her gasp. "Are you all right?" "Yes," Olivia said, her face breaking into a smile. "The baby just kicked. It is the first time I have really felt it move." Vincent stood and crossed to her. "May I?" he asked, his hand hovering near her belly. Olivia nodded, touched that he had asked permission. Vincent carefully placed his hand on her stomach, his palm warm through the fabric of her dress. They stood there for a moment, waiting, and then the baby kicked again, right against Vincent's hand. His face transformed with wonder. "I felt that," he said quietly, his eyes meeting hers. "That is amazing." "It is real now, is it not?" Olivia said softly. "Before, I knew I was pregnant, but this makes it feel different somehow." Vincent kept his hand on her belly a moment longer, and when he looked at her, there was something in his eyes that made her heart skip. "That is our baby," he said. "Our child. I know I did not sire it, but that does not matter to me. Do you believe me?" "I am starting to," Olivia admitted. "You have given me no reason not to believe you." Vincent's hand moved from her belly to gently cup her cheek. I want this to be a real marriage, Olivia, not just an arrangement. I know we have not known each other long, but I find myself caring for you more each day. Is that something you might want as well? Olivia's breath caught. She had been so focused on survival, on securing a future for her child, that she had not allowed herself to think about what she wanted for herself. But now, standing in this small kitchen with Vincent's hand on her face and his eyes searching hers, she realized that she did want more. She wanted this to be real. Yes, she whispered. I would like that very much. Vincent smiled, a real, full smile that made him look younger and even more handsome. Then he leaned down and kissed her properly this time. His lips were warm and gentle, asking rather than demanding, and Olivia found herself leaning into him, her hands coming up to rest on his chest. When they pulled apart, both slightly breathless, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. I will move my things into the bedroom, he said, if you are comfortable with that. I am comfortable with that, Olivia confirmed. That night, they lay together in the darkness, Vincent's arm around her and her head on his chest. They did not do more than hold each other, but it felt intimate and right. Olivia listened to the steady beat of his heart and felt the baby flutter inside her. And she thought that maybe, just maybe, everything was going to be all right. The summer heat intensified as July turned into August. Olivia found herself tiring more easily as her pregnancy progressed, and Vincent became increasingly protective. He insisted she rest in the afternoon heat and take frequent breaks from her work. She protested at first, not wanting to seem lazy, but Vincent was unmovable on the subject. I did not bring you here to work yourself to exhaustion, he told her firmly one afternoon when she insisted on helping him repair a section of fence. The work will get done. Your health and the baby's health are more important. But I want to help, Olivia said, frustrated by the limitations of her changing body. I want to be useful. Vincent set down his tools and took her hands in his. You are useful. You keep this house running, you make sure I eat proper meals instead of just beans and coffee. You manage the chickens and the garden. That is plenty. And more than that, you are my wife. Your presence here, your company, your smile when I come in tired at the end of the day, that matters more than any amount of fence mending. Olivia felt tears spring to her eyes again. I do not know what I did to deserve you, she said. I think we both got lucky, Vincent replied, pulling her into his arms. Now please go rest in the shade. Read one of those books you love. Let me take care of the heavy work. She did as he asked, settling into one of the rocking chairs on the porch with a novel she had been reading. But she found herself watching Vincent work more than reading, admiring the way he moved, the capable strength in his actions. She was falling in love with him, she realized. Maybe she had been falling in love with him since that first day when he declared that her baby would call him father. The realization both thrilled and terrified her. That evening, as they lay in bed together, Olivia gathered her courage. Vincent, I need to tell you something. He shifted so he could see her face in the moonlight coming through the window. What is it? I love you, she said simply. I know we have only been married a short time, and I know this started as an arrangement, but I have fallen in love with you. I needed you to know that. Vincent's expression softened, and he cupped her face in his hand. I love you too, he said. I have been wanting to tell you for weeks, but I did not want to pressure you or make you feel like you had to say it back. But I do love you, Olivia. I love your strength, your kindness, the way you hum while you work, the way you read to me in the evenings. I love all of it. They kissed then, deeply and passionately, and for the first time since she had arrived, they came together as husband and wife in full. Vincent was tender and careful, mindful of her pregnant state, and Olivia felt cherished in a way she never had before. Afterwards, wrapped in his arms, She felt truly safe for the first time in longer than she could remember. September brought cooler temperatures and the beginning of fall. Olivia's belly had grown considerably, and she was now unmistakably pregnant. She found it harder to move around, and simple tasks took more effort. Vincent hired a woman from town, a widow named Sarah Green, to come by a few days a week to help with the heavier housework and to keep Olivia company. Sarah was a practical woman in her 40s with a no-nonsense attitude and a warm heart. She had raised 4 children of her own and had assisted at numerous births in the area. She took one look at Olivia and declared that the baby would probably arrive sometime in late October or early November. "You are carrying well," Sarah told her, kneading bread dough beside Olivia one afternoon. "Good size, good position from what I can tell. Have you and Vincent thought about names?" "We have discussed a few," Olivia admitted. "If it is a boy, Vincent likes the name James after his father. If it is a girl, I rather like Elizabeth. Good, solid names," Sarah approved. "And Vincent will be a good father, pregnant or not. Everyone in town speaks highly of him." "What do they say about me?" Olivia could not help asking. She rarely went into town, partly because of the difficulty of the journey while pregnant, partly because she was nervous about what people might think or say. Sarah gave her a shrewd look. "They say Vincent Palmer married a mail-order bride who was already expecting." Some of the busybodies clucked their tongues over it, but most people figure it is none of their business. And anyone who has seen you two together can tell there is real affection there. That matters more than gossip. Olivia felt relief wash over her. She had been so worried about bringing shame to Vincent's name, but it seemed the small community was more accepting than she had feared. That night, when she told Vincent about her conversation with Sarah, he pulled her close. "I do not care what anyone thinks," he said. "But I am glad you do not have to face judgment every time you go to town. You have done nothing wrong and you have nothing to be ashamed of." "I made mistakes," Olivia said quietly. "I trusted the wrong man. I was foolish." "You were trusting and hopeful," Vincent corrected. "That is not foolish." "He was the one who was wrong, not you. And his loss is my gain, because I cannot imagine my life without you now." As October arrived, Olivia found herself growing increasingly uncomfortable. The baby seemed to press on every organ she had, making it hard to eat, hard to sleep, hard to find a comfortable position. Vincent was endlessly patient, rubbing her aching back, propping her up with pillows, bringing her water in the middle of the night. One morning she woke to find him watching her, his hand resting lightly on her belly. "What are you thinking about?" she asked sleepily. "I am thinking about how much everything has changed in the past 5 months," Vincent said. "When I sent that advertisement for a wife, I just wanted someone to help with the ranch and keep me company. I never imagined I would find someone like you. I never imagined I would be this happy." Olivia took his hand and squeezed it. "I was so scared when I got off that stagecoach. I thought you would take one look at me and send me away. If you had, I do not know what I would have done." "You would have figured something out," Vincent said with certainty. "You are stronger than you give yourself credit for, but I am glad you did not have to. I am glad you are here, and I am glad this baby will be ours." "Ours," Olivia repeated, loving the sound of that word. "Yes, ours." The baby came on a cool evening in late October, arriving about 2 weeks earlier than Sarah had predicted. Olivia had been feeling strange all day, with pains in her back and an odd restlessness. She had not thought much of it, attributing it to the usual discomforts of late pregnancy. But when her water broke while she was making dinner, there was no mistaking what was happening. Vincent immediately rode to get Sarah while Charlie, who had been there fixing a broken gate, stayed with Olivia. The older man tried to hide his nervousness, but Olivia could see his hands shaking slightly as he helped her to the bedroom. "My wife had 4 babies," Charlie said, trying to sound reassuring. "I know a little about this. You are going to be just fine." Olivia tried to smile but gasped as another contraction hit her. "How long did it take, with your wife's babies?" "Oh, different times for each one," Charlie said vaguely. "But do not you worry. Sarah will be here soon, and she knows what to do." Sarah arrived within the hour, bustling into the house with Vincent right behind her. She took one look at Olivia and immediately took charge, sending Vincent to boil water and get clean linens. "Now then," Sarah said, helping Olivia out of her dress and into a nightgown. "Let us see where we are." The labor lasted through the night. It was painful and exhausting, and there were moments when Olivia was not sure she could continue. But Vincent stayed by her side the entire time, holding her hand, wiping her forehead with a cool cloth, murmuring encouragement. "You are so strong," he told her between contractions. "You can do this. We are right here with you." As dawn broke through the bedroom window, Olivia felt an overwhelming urge to push. Sarah guided her through it, and Vincent supported her from behind, his arms around her. "That is it," Sarah encouraged. "One more big push. The head is out." "Just one more." Olivia gathered every bit of strength she had left and pushed with everything in her. She felt the baby slide out in a rush, and then the room was filled with a thin, reedy cry. "It is a boy," Sarah announced, quickly checking the baby over. "A healthy, perfect boy." Vincent's arms tightened around Olivia, and when she looked back at him, she saw tears streaming down his face. Sarah wrapped the baby in a clean blanket and placed him in Olivia's arms. He was red and wrinkled and covered in vernix, but to Olivia, he was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. "Hello, James," she whispered, touching his tiny face with one finger. "Hello, my sweet boy." Vincent leaned over her shoulder, looking at the baby with wonder. "James Vincent Palmer," he said softly. "Welcome to the world, son." Sarah cleaned up efficiently, helped Olivia deliver the afterbirth, and got her settled comfortably in bed with the baby. "He is a good size," Sarah said. "About 7 pounds, I would guess. Good color, good cry, he looks healthy." Vincent could not seem to stop staring at the baby. When Sarah suggested he might want to hold his son, he looked almost nervous. "I have never held a baby before," he admitted. "Well, it is time you learned," Sarah said, showing him how to support the head and back. She transferred James into Vincent's arms, and the big rancher looked down at the tiny infant with an expression of pure awe. "He is so small," Vincent said. "I am afraid I will hurt him." "You will not," Olivia assured him, her heart swelling at the sight of her husband holding their son. "You are being so gentle." Vincent sat in the rocking chair beside the bed, still holding James, who had settled down and was looking around with unfocused eyes. "I promise you," Vincent said to the baby, "I will do everything in my power to give you a good life. I will teach you everything I know. I will protect you and love you every single day. You are my son, and nothing will ever change that." Olivia felt tears sliding down her cheeks. "He is lucky to have you as a father," she said. Vincent looked up at her, his eyes bright. "We are all lucky to have each other," he said. Sarah stayed for another hour, making sure Olivia was comfortable and showing her how to nurse the baby. James latched on quickly, which Sarah said was a good sign. "You have done this before," she joked. "Or at least your body has. Some first-time mothers have more trouble with nursing." After Sarah left, promising to return the next day to check on them, Vincent climbed into bed beside Olivia, careful not to jostle her or the baby. James was sleeping now, making little snuffling sounds. "I cannot believe he is really here," Olivia said softly. "After everything, after all the fear and uncertainty, he is finally here and we are together." "A family," Vincent said, putting his arm around her shoulders. A real family. They stayed like that for a long time, watching their son sleep, marveling at his tiny fingers and the way his mouth moved even in sleep. The next few weeks were a blur of feedings, diaper changes, and sleepless nights. James was a good baby overall, but he needed to eat frequently, and Olivia was exhausted. Vincent took on even more of the household tasks, insisting that Olivia rest whenever the baby slept. He also proved to be surprisingly good with James, walking him around the house when he fussed, changing his diapers without complaint, and singing to him in a low, rumbling voice that seemed to soothe the baby. Charlie came by to meet the new arrival and declared him the finest baby he had ever seen. Sarah stopped by regularly to check on them and brought over meals from time to time. Martha Sullivan from the general store visited with gifts of baby clothes and blankets, and even Reverend Matthews stopped by to offer congratulations and a blessing for the child. Olivia had been nervous about taking James into town for the first time, worried about facing questions or judgment. But when she and Vincent finally made the trip when James was about 6 weeks old, people were kind. They cooed over the baby and congratulated Vincent on becoming a father. A few asked polite questions about when they had gotten married, but no one made rude comments about the timing. See, Vincent said as they drove back to the ranch that afternoon. No one cares, they just see a family. A family, Olivia repeated, smiling. I still cannot quite believe this is my life now. Believe it, Vincent said, reaching over to squeeze her hand. This is real, this is ours. Winter came early that year, with the first snow falling in mid-November. Vincent spent long hours making sure the cattle would survive the cold months, while Olivia kept the house warm and cozy. James was growing rapidly, filling out and becoming more alert. He started smiling at around 8 weeks, and both Olivia and Vincent were besotted with those gummy little grins. On Christmas Eve, they sat together in front of the fireplace, James sleeping in a cradle that Vincent had built himself. The house was decorated simply with pine boughs and candles, and Olivia had managed to make a small cake as a treat. I have something for you, Vincent said, reaching behind his chair and pulling out a package wrapped in brown paper. Olivia was surprised. I did not get you anything, she said, dismayed. I did not even think about gifts. You have given me everything, Vincent said. Open it. Inside the package was a beautiful shawl, soft wool in a deep blue that matched her eyes. Vincent, this is beautiful, she breathed, wrapping it around her shoulders. It must have cost a fortune. I ordered it from a catalog back in September, Vincent admitted. I wanted you to have something nice, something that was just yours. Thank you, Olivia said, leaning over to kiss him. I love it. I have something else too, Vincent said, pulling a smaller package from his pocket. For James. Inside was a small wooden horse, carved and sanded smooth. You made this? Olivia asked, running her fingers over the toy. I have been working on it in the barn when I have time, Vincent said. He is too young for it now, but someday he will play with it, and maybe I will teach him how to whittle his own toys. Olivia felt her eyes fill with tears yet again. You are such a good father, she said. James is so lucky. We both are. Vincent pulled her close, careful not to disturb the shawl. I am the lucky one, he insisted. A year ago I was alone in this house, working every day and coming home to an empty table and a cold bed. Now I have you and James, and my life has more joy in it than I ever thought possible. They kissed then, slow and sweet, the fire crackling beside them and their son sleeping peacefully in his cradle. It was a perfect moment, and Olivia committed every detail to memory. The winter was hard, as winters in New Mexico territory could be. There were days when Vincent could barely make it to the barn through the snow, and nights when they all huddled close for warmth despite the fire. But they made it through together, and when spring finally arrived in March, it felt like a rebirth. James was 5 months old now, chunky and happy, laughing often and starting to show signs that he would be crawling soon. Vincent doted on him, and Olivia often found the two of them together, Vincent talking to James about the ranch or the cattle or whatever was on his mind, and James babbling back as though he understood every word. One warm spring afternoon, Olivia was working in the garden while James napped inside and Vincent was out checking fences. She heard the sound of hoofbeats and looked up to see a stranger riding toward the house. Her heart jumped with anxiety. They rarely had unexpected visitors this far from town. The man who dismounted was in his 30s, well dressed in city clothes that looked out of place in the ranch setting. He had dark hair and sharp features, and there was something familiar about him that made Olivia's stomach drop. "Can I help you?" she asked, straightening up and wiping her hands on her apron. The man removed his hat. "I am looking for a Miss Olivia Edwards," he said. "I was told in town that she might be here." Olivia felt cold despite the warm sun. She knew this man. She had tried so hard to forget his face, but she knew him. "I am Olivia Palmer now," she said, her voice steadier than she felt, "and you are not welcome here." Recognition dawned on the man's face. "Olivia, it is you. I hardly recognized you. You look well." "What do you want, Richard?" Olivia asked flatly. Richard Ashton had been the man who had courted her in Pennsylvania, who had promised her marriage, who had left her pregnant and alone. "I came to find you," Richard said, stepping closer. Olivia stepped back instinctively. "I made a terrible mistake, Olivia. I should never have left. I was scared and foolish, but I have thought about you every day since. I want to make things right. I want to marry you and claim our child." "You are too late," Olivia said coldly. "I am already married and my son already has a father. A real father who has been here since before he was born." Richard's expression hardened. "You married someone else while carrying my child, your child." Olivia felt anger rising in her chest, hot and fierce. "You abandoned us. You wanted nothing to do with either of us. James is not your child." "He is mine and Vincent's." "James," Richard said. "You named him James. But that is not fair, Olivia. I have rights. He is my blood, my son." "You have no rights," a voice said from behind Richard. Both of them turned to see Vincent approaching on foot, leading his horse. He must have seen the stranger and come back. His expression was cold, and there was steel in his eyes that Olivia had never seen before. "You heard my wife. You are not welcome here." Richard looked Vincent up and down dismissively. "This is between Olivia and me. This is about my child." "That is my son in there," Vincent said, his voice low and dangerous. "My name is on his birth certificate. I was there when he was born. I have walked him at night when he cries and changed his diapers and fed him bottles when Olivia needed rest. I am his father in every way that matters. You are just a man who made a mistake and now wants to undo it because your conscience is bothering you." "You cannot keep me from my own flesh and blood," Richard argued, his face reddening. "Actually, I can," Vincent said. "This is my land and you are trespassing. Olivia is my wife, legally married. James is my son, legally acknowledged. You have no claim here, legal or otherwise. Now you can get back on your horse and leave, or I can make you leave. Your choice." Richard looked between them, clearly trying to decide if Vincent was bluffing. He must have seen something in Vincent's eyes that convinced him, because he took a step back toward his horse. "This is not over," Richard said. "I will get a lawyer. I will fight for my rights." "You do that," Vincent said, "but you will lose. Now get off my property." Richard mounted his horse, shooting one last look at Olivia. I did care for you, he said. I know you do not believe that, but I did. If you had cared, you would not have left, Olivia said. Goodbye, Richard. They watched him ride away, and only when he was out of sight did Olivia allow herself to sag against Vincent. What if he really does get a lawyer? She asked. What if he tries to take James? He will not, Vincent said firmly, wrapping his arms around her. We are James's legal parents. Richard has no case, and any decent judge would see that. He was just trying to scare you. He succeeded, Olivia admitted, her voice shaking. I was so scared. I know, Vincent said, holding her tighter, but I will not let anyone take our son, I promise you that. James is ours, and we will protect him no matter what. They went inside together, and Olivia immediately went to check on James. He was still sleeping peacefully, unaware of the drama that had just unfolded. She stood over his cradle, watching him breathe, and felt Vincent come up behind her, his arms circling her waist. He is safe, Vincent murmured. We are all safe. That man has no power here. Olivia turned in his arms to face him. I am sorry, she said. I am sorry I brought this complication into your life. You brought love and joy and purpose into my life, Vincent corrected. Everything else we will handle together. That is what marriage is, Olivia. We face things together. She kissed him then, pouring all her gratitude and love into it. When they pulled apart, Vincent rested his forehead against hers. I meant what I said out there, he said quietly. James is my son in every way that matters. I love him as much as if I had sired him myself. No one will ever make me doubt that or take him from us. I know, Olivia said. I see it every day, the way you love him. He will grow up knowing he was wanted and cherished. As if sensing they were talking about him, James woke up with a little cry. Olivia picked him up, and he immediately stopped fussing, looking around with bright, curious eyes. Vincent tickled his stomach gently, making the baby laugh. There is my boy, Vincent said softly. Did you have a good nap? James gurgled happily, reaching for Vincent's face with chubby hands. Vincent caught one little hand and kissed it, and Olivia felt her heart overflow with love for both of them. True to Vincent's prediction, Richard never followed through with his threats. They heard through Sarah, who heard it from someone in town, that Richard had stayed in Steins Pass for a few days making inquiries about hiring a lawyer, but he had apparently been told that he had no legal standing. He left town after that, and as far as they knew, went back east. Good riddance, Sarah declared when she shared this news. A man who would abandon a woman in that condition does not deserve to be called a father. Life returned to normal after that scare. James continued to grow and develop, reaching all his milestones right on schedule. He started crawling in May, pulling himself up on furniture by July, and took his first wobbly steps just before his first birthday in October. For his birthday, Olivia made a small cake, and they invited Charlie and Sarah to celebrate with them. James sat in his high chair, which Vincent had built, and smashed cake all over his face while the adults laughed. Vincent took dozens of photographs with a camera he had saved up for, wanting to capture every moment. That night, after their guests had left and James was asleep, Vincent and Olivia sat on the porch together, watching the stars come out over the mountains. A year ago, I was in labor, Olivia said, resting her head on Vincent's shoulder. I was so scared and so tired, and I did not know if everything would work out. And now, Vincent asked, his arm around her. Now I am happier than I ever thought I could be, Olivia said honestly. I have a beautiful son, a home I love, and a husband who is the best man I have ever known. I am not sure about that last part, Vincent said with a slight smile, but I am glad you think so, and I am happy too, more than I can express. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, just enjoying each other's presence. Then Vincent spoke again, his voice thoughtful. "I have been thinking," he said. "The ranch is doing well. We have had a good year and I have saved some money. I would like to add on to the house. Give James a proper bedroom, maybe add another room or two. We have the space." "Another room or two?" Olivia asked. "That seems like a lot for just the three of us." Vincent turned to look at her, his eyes warm. "Well, I was hoping it might not always be just the three of us. If you wanted more children, I mean. I know James has not been mine from the start, but any other children we have would be." "I would like that. Would you?" Olivia felt emotion swell in her chest. "I would like that very much," she said softly. "I would love to give James siblings and to have more children with you." Vincent kissed her temple. "Then we will add on to the house," he said. "Make it a real family home." Over the next several months, Vincent worked on expanding the house, often with Charlie's help. They added 2 more bedrooms and expanded the kitchen. It was hard work, especially while still managing the ranch, but Vincent seemed energized by the project. By the time spring came around again, the house was finished, and Olivia had another announcement to make. She was pregnant again, and this time, the child was Vincent's from the start. She told him one evening after dinner, simply stating, "We are going to need that extra room sooner than we thought." Vincent looked confused for a moment, then understanding dawned on his face. "You are pregnant?" he asked, his voice filled with wonder. "I am," Olivia confirmed, smiling at his reaction. "About 3 months along, I think. The baby should come in September." Vincent let out a whoop of joy and swept her into his arms, spinning her around before setting her down carefully. "That is wonderful. That is amazing. Another baby." He paused, his expression becoming more serious. "Are you happy about it? I know James is still young." "I am very happy," Olivia assured him. "James will be almost 2 when the baby comes. That is a good spacing, and he will be a wonderful big brother." Vincent knelt down in front of her, pressing a kiss to her still flat stomach. "Hello in there," he said softly. "I am your papa and I already love you so much. Your mama and your brother and I cannot wait to meet you." Olivia ran her fingers through his hair, overwhelmed with love for this man who had taken a chance on her and her unborn child, and had given them both a life full of love and security. This pregnancy was different from the first one. Olivia was not dealing with fear and uncertainty. Instead, she was able to enjoy the experience, to marvel at the changes in her body, knowing that she was bringing Vincent's child into the world. Vincent was attentive and excited, constantly asking how she was feeling and talking to her belly when they were alone. James, now a curious and energetic toddler, did not fully understand what was happening, but he seemed to sense something was different. He would sometimes pat Olivia's growing belly and babble at it, which both parents found adorable. The summer passed quickly, with Vincent working hard to get everything ready before the baby's arrival. Charlie had agreed to stay at the ranch full-time during the weeks around Olivia's due date to help with the work, and with James if needed. In late September, on a warm afternoon, Olivia's labor began. This time, the process felt less frightening because she knew what to expect. Sarah arrived quickly, having agreed to stay nearby once Olivia reached her 9th month. Charlie took James outside to play while Vincent stayed with Olivia, just as he had done for James's birth. The labor was shorter this time, only lasting from afternoon into evening. When the baby finally arrived, Sarah announced, "It is a girl, a beautiful, healthy girl." Vincent's eyes filled with tears as Sarah placed the baby in Olivia's arms. She had a full head of dark hair like her father, and when she opened her eyes, they were blue like Vincent's. "She looks like you," Olivia said, gazing at her daughter in wonder. "She is perfect," Vincent said, his voice choked with emotion. "Absolutely perfect. Elizabeth, Olivia said, remembering the name they had discussed. Elizabeth Sarah Palmer, if you agree. Sarah for the middle name after the woman who has helped us so much. Sarah, who was cleaning up nearby, stopped and turned, her eyes welling with tears. You want to name her after me? You have been like a mother to me since I arrived here, Olivia said. I would be honored to give her your name. Sarah dabbed at her eyes with her apron. Well then, little Elizabeth Sarah is a very lucky girl to have such wonderful parents. When Charlie brought James in to meet his new sister, the toddler was initially confused. But when Vincent lifted him up to see the baby, James reached out one chubby finger to gently touch Elizabeth's hand. Baby, he said, one of his few clear words. That is right, Vincent said. This is your baby sister, Elizabeth. You are going to be the best big brother. James seemed pleased with this, saying baby several more times and patting Elizabeth's hand gently. That night, after everyone had left and both children were asleep, Vincent and Olivia lay in bed together, exhausted but happy. Elizabeth was in a cradle beside the bed, making the small snuffling sounds that newborns make. We have 2 children now, Vincent said wonderingly. A son and a daughter, a real family. We have been a real family since you told me James would call you father, Olivia said. But yes, our family has grown and it is wonderful. Vincent turned on his side to look at her. Do you ever think about how we started? How unlikely it was that we would end up here like this? Sometimes, Olivia admitted. I think about how scared I was getting off that stagecoach, how certain I was that you would reject me. I think about how different my life could have been if you had not been the kind of man you are. I think about how empty my life was before you came, Vincent said. How I was just going through the motions, working every day but not really living. You changed everything, Olivia. You and James and now Elizabeth. You made this house a home and my life worth living. We did that together, Olivia said, reaching for his hand. You saved us, but we also saved you, I think. You did, Vincent agreed. You absolutely did. The years that followed were full and happy. James grew into a bright, energetic boy who loved following his father around the ranch and helping with the animals. Elizabeth was a sweet, curious child who had her father wrapped around her little finger. Vincent expanded the ranch, buying more land and increasing the herd. Olivia turned the house into a true home, full of warmth and love and laughter. When James was 6 and Elizabeth 3, Olivia became pregnant again. This time, the baby was another boy whom they named Thomas Vincent Palmer. Thomas had his mother's dark hair and eyes, and from the start, he was a calm, easygoing baby who rarely fussed. Vincent proved to be just as wonderful a father to Elizabeth and Thomas as he was to James. He never made any distinction between the 3 children, treating them all with the same love and devotion. And as James grew older and began to understand more about the world, Vincent sat him down one day and told him the truth about his birth. I want you to hear this from me, Vincent said, with Olivia beside him for support. James was 8 now, old enough to understand. I am not your birth father. Your mother was pregnant with you when she came here to marry me. But from the moment I knew about you, I wanted to be your father. I love you just as much as I love Elizabeth and Thomas. You are my son in every way that matters. James, who had been listening seriously, thought about this for a moment. Then he said, But you are my papa. You have always been my papa. I have, Vincent confirmed, his voice thick with emotion. And I always will be. Then it does not matter who my birth father was, James said with the straightforward logic of a child. You are my real father. Vincent pulled James into a tight hug, and Olivia saw tears on her husband's cheeks. That is right, Vincent said. I am your real father and you are my real son. Always. James hugged him back fiercely. I love you, Papa. I love you too, son, more than you will ever know." As the children grew, the ranch prospered. Vincent hired more help, allowing him to spend more time with his family. They made regular trips into Steins Pass, where they were well-respected members of the community. Olivia became known for her baking, often bringing pies and cakes to church socials. Vincent served on the school board, wanting to ensure good education for all the children in the area, including his own. On their 10th wedding anniversary, Vincent took Olivia back to the spot where they had first arrived at the ranch together. They stood looking out at the land, now dotted with cattle and improved buildings. "You remember that first day?" Vincent asked, his arm around her waist. "I do," Olivia said. "I remember thinking the land was beautiful but being so nervous about everything. I remember you being kind when you had every right to be angry. I remember thinking you were the bravest person I had ever met," Vincent said. "Coming all this way, pregnant and alone, willing to face whatever came, I knew right then that you were special." "I was terrified," Olivia admitted with a laugh, "but you made me feel safe. You always have." Vincent turned her to face him, taking both her hands in his. "These have been the best 10 years of my life," he said. "You and our children are everything to me. I want you to know that." "I do know that," Olivia said, standing on her toes to kiss him. "And you and our children are everything to me. I love you, Vincent. I will love you for the rest of my life." "And I will love you for the rest of mine," Vincent promised. As the years continued to pass, they watched their children grow into fine young people. James became a skilled rancher like his father, eventually taking on more responsibility for the day-to-day running of the ranch. Elizabeth surprised everyone by showing an aptitude for business and numbers, helping manage the ranch's finances and making smart investments that increased their prosperity. Thomas, the youngest, had a gentle way with horses and became known throughout the territory for his ability to train even the most difficult animals. Richard never returned or contacted them again. They heard years later through a traveler that he had married someone in Philadelphia and had several children. Olivia felt nothing but relief at that news. That chapter of her life was long closed, and she had no desire to revisit it. When James was 21, he married a local girl named Catherine, and they built a house on the far side of the ranch land. When Elizabeth was 18, she met a lawyer from Santa Fe at a church social, and they courted for a year before marrying. Thomas, at 19, was engaged to the daughter of a neighboring rancher. On the day of James's wedding, Vincent pulled his oldest son aside before the ceremony. "I am so proud of the man you have become," he said. "You are strong, honest, and kind. Those are the things that matter most." "I learned all that from you, Papa," James said. "You showed me what it means to be a good man, a good husband, and a good father. I want to be like you." Vincent embraced him tightly. "You already are, son. You already are." Later that night, at the wedding celebration, Olivia watched her family with a full heart. Her children, all grown or nearly grown, were happy and healthy. Her husband, now in his 50s with gray threading through his dark hair, was still as handsome and kind as the day she met him. They had built something beautiful together, something lasting. Vincent found her standing at the edge of the gathering, looking out at the stars. "What are you thinking about?" he asked, slipping his arm around her waist. "I am thinking about how lucky we are," Olivia said. "How everything turned out better than I ever could have dreamed." "We made our own luck," Vincent said. "Through hard work, dedication, and love, we chose each other and we kept choosing each other every day." "I would choose you again every time," Olivia said, turning to face him. "In any life, in any circumstance, I would always choose you." "And I would always choose you," Vincent said, kissing her softly. "My brave mail-order bride who changed my entire world." They stood together under the New Mexico stars, surrounded by the family they had built and the life they had created, knowing that they had found something rare and precious. They had found true love, the kind that endures through trials and years, the kind that grows stronger with time. Years later, when they were both old and gray, sitting on the porch of the house they had built together, watching their grandchildren play in the yard, Olivia reflected on how different her life had been from what she had once imagined. She had started as a frightened young woman carrying another man's child, with no prospects and no hope. She had taken a desperate chance on a stranger's advertisement for a wife, and that stranger had become the love of her life. He had given her and her unborn child a home, a name, and most importantly, unconditional love. He had kept his promise from that very first day, raising James as his own son, never making any distinction between him and the children they had together. "What are you thinking about?" Vincent asked, his voice a bit rougher with age but still familiar and beloved. "I am thinking about the day I arrived in Steins Pass," Olivia said, taking his hand. "About how terrified I was and how kind you were. About how you said that child would call you father, and you meant it with your whole heart." "Best decision I ever made," Vincent said, squeezing her hand. "Choosing you and James, it led to all of this." He gestured at the scene before them, their children, now middle-aged with families of their own, their grandchildren running and playing, the thriving ranch that had grown from his humble beginnings. "We built a good life," Olivia said contentedly. "We built a wonderful life," Vincent corrected. "And I would not change a single moment of it." As the sun set over the mountains, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, Vincent and Olivia sat together as they had for more than 40 years, their hands clasped, their hearts full, surrounded by the love and family they had created together. It was a fitting end to each day and a beautiful continuation of a story that had begun with fear and uncertainty, but had blossomed into a love story for the ages. Their story was not one of a perfect fairy tale. It was better than that. It was the story of two people who found each other when they needed each other most, who chose love over fear, who built something lasting through dedication and commitment and unwavering devotion. It was the story of a mail-order bride who arrived pregnant by another man, and the cowboy who said that child would call him father, and who kept that promise every single day of his life. It was a story of redemption, second chances, and the transformative power of love. And it was a story that would be told to their grandchildren and great-grandchildren, passed down through generations as a testament to what true love and commitment really mean. Because in the end, family is not just about blood. It is about choice, about showing up every day, about loving unconditionally even when it is difficult. Vincent Palmer had understood that from the very beginning, and that understanding had changed everything. As stars began to appear in the darkening sky, their oldest grandson, James and Catherine's boy, came running up to the porch. "Grandpa, Grandma, Papa says it is time for dinner. We will be right there," Vincent called back. Then he turned to Olivia. "Ready to go in a moment," Olivia said. "I just want to sit here with you a little longer." So they sat, the aging cowboy and his bride, watching the first stars appear over the New Mexico territory they had called home for so long, grateful for every moment they had been given, for every challenge they had overcome, for every day they had been blessed to share. Their story had begun with uncertainty and fear, but it was ending with peace, joy, and a love that had only grown stronger with the passing years. It was everything a love story should be, and more.